So hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Kai and you're watching Code with Kai, and topic for today is going to be creating a timer component. So how do we make a timer component? First thing that we have is there are two possible approaches. First approach is using the input component. So this can be an input component, or other way is you don't make this as an input component, make it as a static component, and then we can give an up arrow key and down arrow key, just like the timer component if we see on the clock. And if you try to configure this, let me just create, yeah, something like this. We can choose to create a timer like this where we have up and down arrow key to configure the timer, or we can create a timer component which where we can where this inside the text is an input component, and we can actually pass any values to it, and we can save the timer. And when we click on the start timer, we get two options. We can either pause the timer at this point, or we can reset the timer at this point back to 0. So that being said, let's just discuss the states of this timer. So this is hour, this is the hour, this is the minute, and this is the second. Okay, this is going to be the left side is going to be the initial state of the timer. This is in the editable mode. Okay, and this is in the running state. When the timer is on the running state, this is you can say running mode. Okay, so this is editable and this is non-editable at this point. So the timer is running and timer is ticking backwards. So here we only have one option to start the timer. We type the input out, whatever value we want to set for the timer, and then we press the start button. Okay, on the right side we have two options: pause and reset. Pausing the timer should pause this particular values, that whatever we get, and resetting the timer should reset this back to the state that it initially was, that is 40, or you can reset back to 0, whatever you prefer. So coming back to the requirement side, we know the second and the minute is always going to be between 0 to 59, because that is how many minutes we have, 60 minutes and 60 seconds. But for hours, this can be any arbitrary number. We can give it till 59 for consistency, or you can make it till 99 to for the 2-digit maximum value supported is 99, so you can make it as well. So that being said, we can go back to the CodeSandBox and code this timer out. So the next thing that we want to do is code the timer component itself. For this, we are going to create a folder called as components. Inside this folder, we want to create a new folder called as timer folder, and in the timer folder we want to create timer.tsx, that is the main timer component. Create a file called as utils. This is where we store the utility functions, and create a file for type.ts to separate out the types. Okay, and if we go back to the timer component, it's empty. So create a function timer, and it is going to return a valid fragment, export default timer. Okay, let's just return timer in this case. Go back to app, import timer from components timer. Here we want to return timer, and if we call this timer, we should get timer right there. Yeah, so this is working. Types is there, utils is there. Okay, so let's just first think in timer what we can add. One thing we can add is definitely the config. The config will have value of hour, minute, and second. So let's just go here, create an interface timer props, and inside the timer props, I might want to add config. This config is going to be contain hour, which is going to be a number, minute going to be a number, and second is also going to be a number. So I might want to add this in a type file, and here I'm going to export out this interface, and we can create this as a separate type. So type, and I might name it as timer config type. This is the type, and we can export this up, something like this. Config might be timer config type. So this works. Go back, import timer props, timer config type from the type. Here we want to say config, and we might want to give the type definition as :timer props. And here we also want to create default values for the config. So default config is equal to hour is going to be 0, and the default config is default timer config, and this is going to be of timer config type. Hour is going to be 0, minute is going to be 0, and second is going to be 0. Okay, so these are the default values, and const loaded config is equal to we want to create first destruct the default one, then override the config ones. Okay, so this is done. This is the loaded config, and we want to create a state to store the configuration. Config timer config, set timer config use state, and here we want to here we want to give loaded config. Okay, and if we try to print timer config dot hour, timer config dot minute, and timer config dot second, then we will able to see this. Let's just separate them out to see this in action. Go back to app.tsx. Here it is expecting we pass config, and let's just say hour as 10, minute as 20, and second as 30, something like this. So, and if we reload this up, we see 10, 20, and 30, right? So whatever value we pass, it's going to consider these values. Okay, now these are not optional in nature, and we don't want to make them optional. It is fine for this use case. Okay, set timer config, timer config. Okay, so the next thing we want to create is the UI of this particular timer component. So let's just create a div, and here we can create timer container. Inside the timer container, we want to give 3 inputs. So the input type is equal to number. Okay, and this, and the name of this input is going to be hour. Name of this input is going to be minute, and name of this input is going to be second. We want to also give the min max values. The min is going to be 0, max hour is 99 as we discussed. Min is going to be 0, max is going to be 59. Min is 0 and max is 59 for second as well. So this much is done, and the value that we want to pass is going to be timer config dot hour, and here we might want to add value as timer config dot minute, and here we want to say value as timer config dot hour dot second. Okay, so this much is created. Let me write hour, we write minute, and this is for the second. Okay, we also want to add the change handler, because right now even if we try to modify, this is not working. So just create a function called as function handle timer change. This is going to take this is going to take an event. Let's just suppose it's going to take an event, and here this event is going to be passed on change handler and handle timer change. Yeah, so this is fine. Going to pass the same function to others as well, and here we can actually destruct values from the event.target, p.target, and we can have name, min, max, and value. Let me console this out and see what we get. Name, min, max, and value. Okay, so not this one. Reload this up. Yeah, we are getting nothing because minute 0, 59, and 21. This is correct. Min is this, max is this, and value is this. So name, min, max, value. Value is 21, 19, 21. So it is giving us the next possible value of this. So that is fine, I guess. We want to clamp the values of for this. That is, we can right now pass whatever value that we want, and let's just try to first set the timer config. The timer config as timer config, and here we can pass name and value, something like this. So now we can change the values whatever we have. We can pass 40, 500, 400, and we can give any arbitrary values. Then that is the issue. We have to also fix this so that we can create a clamp function to fix this up. So to create a clamping function, I'm going to go to utilities, create a const clamp, and it is going to take 3 values: value, min, and max. It's going to be arrow function, and it's going to return math.max, number of men. Then it is math.min, number of max, and this is going to be the value. And these are all going to be string. These are all going to be string. So here, this is going to be number of value. So this is the clamp function that we have. I exported this clamp. So we go back, and value, min, and max is being passed to the clamp function. Import clamp from utilities, and there we go. We have the function. Let's give 59 is where it's clamping to. Even though whatever value we pass here, it's still going to clamp to the 59. And we can see this in action if we actually apply this particular, if we only log this particular out. Let me log this. Let me give, yeah, so the 59 is maximum we have, 5, 51, 52, 55. Okay. The input validation is at least working fine as expected. This can go up to 99. Yeah, so this is working as expected. Let's just change the design of this. I don't quite like the UI for this. So go back to style.css, type input, uh, type is equal to number, and we can just change the font size as 30 pixels. Yeah, so it has become larger. Make it 50. Let's just keep 40. Yeah, 40 looks fine. Max width as 40 pixels. Let's just give 80 pixels in this case. Yeah, so it will have 99. Yeah, this looks fine. Give border to pixels solid red, something like this. And give margin right as 2 pixels. Okay, so this separates this out, and we can create it as orange. Yeah, let's just give a good border for this. 4 pixel is looks good, and we can do border radius as 2 pixels. 5 pixels. Yeah, this looks fine, I guess. We can even change the color of this. Color is going to be orange as well. Yeah, this looks pretty good. Now the timer low is looking solid. Let's just create three buttons for this. And the first button that we have in the timer is the start button. So we want to create a button. Here we can say button. This is a start button. Then we have stop button. Then we have pause, and we also want to have a reset button. Okay, so there are total 4 buttons. Let's just make this button into a group and give it down dev. Yeah, class name timer buttons. Okay, so we want to target this, the styles of this timer buttons, and the button background color yellow, padding 10 pixels, 10 pixels, 5 pixels. Is inverse actually, 10 pixels. Yeah, border 0 pixels, solid black. For the radius 5 pixels, something like this. Yeah, that's a pointer. Start, stop, pause, and reset. And for these individual buttons, we can give another styles. Let's just give the class name as timer button start, and copy this class name. Timer button stop, timer button pause, and timer button reset. Okay, go back to styles. This does not give any color to this. Timer button reset. Background color as red, as black, and color as white. Timer button reset. Back to the timer thing. Start, stop, pause, and reset. So there we go. It's looking pretty clean. Let's just give gap of 10 pixels. Okay, so we can just give margin 20 pixels. 10 pixels. This looks fine. The pause button can be orange. Timer button reset. Pause is going to be orange, and I'll just give the color as black. This, and stop is going to be red, and start is going to be green. Okay. Start is going to be green yellow. Red is going to be black. Just give it green. Red is going to be white. Yeah. Looks fine to me. Top button, I want to give it red. Coral. So, yeah, this looks fine, I guess. These are the 4 buttons we have: start, stop, pause, and reset. And we actually want to render these buttons conditionally. The start button is going to be at the beginning when the timer is not running. So for that, we also want to create two more states. The first state is for is timer running, is running, set is running, and use state as false. Initially, timer is not running. Is it paused? Okay, that is paused, false. One more variable that we want to create is to hold the interval, so const, but this is going to be a ref. So timer ref is equal to use ref. We might want to pass null here, and let's just go up. It's already imported. Okay, this is done. And so the next thing that we want to add are the dependent conditions to render out this particular start, stop, pause, and reset buttons. So to render out the start button, we can give okay, let's just write the condition at right here. Can pause and false, and start false, and resume. Okay, so we can start the timer if it is not already running, if not is running, and if it is not paused. Okay, otherwise it doesn't make sense to start the timer. So what about the pause state? If it is running, can pause, right? When can we pause the timer? We can pause the timer if the timer is running. There's only one condition. And we can resume the timer if it is already paused. If it is running, if it is not running, that means the timer is not running, and the timer is paused, then we can resume. Okay, so this might sound counterintuitive, but this is the correct approach. Can start, can pause, can resume. And here we can just simply replace this out. If we can start, then we render out the button. If we can stop, can resume, start and resume. There is no stop, there is only resume and resume. Then we are going to take this and can start, can pause, can resume, and pause and pause. And this is going to go here. Okay, and to reset it, we only have one option, right? Reset option is always going to be there. So we can start it and we can reset it, right? So let's just make 4 functions to attach to this particular buttons. On click is equal to handle timer start, and let's just create a few more functions. Handle timer start, handle. Let me copy this up. Fine, I guess. Okay. Handle timer start, resume. This is going to be pause. This is going to be reset. Okay. So let's just give these functions. Handle timer start. Make it as an arrow function. Sorry. Okay, so this is going to be handle timer start, handle timer pause, handle timer resume. If we pause, we have to resume, and if we start the timer, we get ability to reset the timer for free every time. Yeah, so these are the 4 states we have. We can start, and once we start the timer, whatever, if the timer is, we have to say handle timer start, then we have to say set the timer is running as true. Okay, and when we reset, then set is running false, the time is no longer running. We just start, then we have button of pause, and we can reset it back. We start, we can reset back, and then we go. We start. Yeah. So in this, we also want to create the logic part of this. So before continuing the UI part, let's just go and complete out the logic. Export const get previous tick, and this is going to take a config. The config is going to be of timer config type. So the idea of this particular component, this particular utility function is we pass the timer as hour, minute, and second, and this is going to give you, this is going to be the input, this is the expected input, and whatever output we get, this is going to be second minus 1. So this is the output that we are expecting, second minus 1. Okay, and if the second reaches 0, then it is like we are expected to reduce from the minute. Okay, let me show you one more example. If the input is 10, 20, and 10, 12, then the output we want is 11. Okay, input, output, input, and output. Okay, so to make something like this, it's pretty simple, to be honest. First we check if the first we store the values in variable hour, minute, and second, and we destruct from config. And if the second is greater than 0, then we do second minus minus. Okay, else if we say minute is greater than 0, that means second has already gone to the negative value. In that case, we want this to run, that is minute greater than 0. Then we want to reset the second back to 59. We can reduce minute minus minus. Okay, else if hour greater than 0, then we can reduce set second to 59, minute as 59, and in this case we can also set hour as minus minus. Yeah, else we want to return, this is the case in which hour is also 0. So hour is 0, minute is 0, and second is also 0. Okay, if these conditions are not, if these conditions fulfill, these the first 3 ones, then we want to return in that case as well, return hour, minute, and second. Okay, so this is the code to get the previous tick. Let's just see if this code is working. So back const tick is equal to get previous tick, and here we can say, here we can pass hour as 10, minute as 12, and second as 13. And if we console log the tick, we should get the tick as 1 reduced second. So let's just go tick, type tick. Do we get 10, 12, and 11? 10, 12, and 11. Let's just give 10, 0, and 0. So we get 9, 59, 59. So that is correct. So this code at least is working to get the previous tick. And we want to add the previous tick in an interval. So, and we can only start the interval if we have not already started that. So that is the reason we require this timer ref. Okay, so actually we can think in terms of these two functions, like this utility functions we can think of creating const start timer and const stop timer. And we are going to reuse these functions in later part of the code. So I'll just clear this out for now. I'll explain you what do I mean. So we can start the timer and stop the timer, and for these functions we are going to consume these functions. Okay, so whenever the timer is started, we know that timer is running, so set is running as true. And if the timer has started, that means it is not in the pause state. So set is paused as false. Okay, we only want to start the timer if it is not already started. So if timer current ref dot current, if it has a timer already, we want to clear the interval. Timer ref dot current, we clear that interval, and then we create the interval, new interval is equal to set interval, going to take a callback 10,000, that is 1 second, and we also want to set up timer ref dot current as the current interval ID. Okay, this is done, and as current interval ID, so we can pass this as null, and timer ref dot current is interval ID. So that is created. Here we want to create next tick. We want to get next tick, get previous tick, and whatever previous tick we get, okay, so this can be part of, okay, so this we have to do it in set timer config. Here we get the current tick, the latest current tick without the issue of stale closure. Then we get then we can call this inside this particular function, get current tick, get previous tick, get previous is going to take current tick and is going to get the next tick. Okay. Now, if the timer has finished completing out, then we don't, then we perform some action. Else we're going to return the current tick as the value, the next tick as the value. Okay. Let's just say we get the next tick and the timer has reached down 0. That case we also have to handle. If timer is reached to 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0, 0. For this we can create a function in utility called as export const is timer completed. Pick timer config type, and this is going to check this one thing, return config dot hour equals 0, and then config dot minute equals 0, and then config dot second equals 0. If this is true, that means the timer is completed. So we can go back. We can say if the timer is reached 0, that means if the timer is completed. This is not imported. We just import this from my utility. This timer completed. The timer is completed with the next tick. Then we want to stop the timer. Set is running as false. Set is paused as false. So, and if we have any timer current ref, timer ref dot current, we also want to clear the interval. Clear interval, timer ref dot current, and the last thing we want to do is timer ref dot current, make it null. And we also have to add the same line. Okay, this is fine. Timer ref dot clear interval. So this looks fine, I guess. We created the interval. We checked if the timer is picked to 0, 0, 0, 0. In that case, we cleared out the interval. Timer dot current, interval ID, stop the timer. In the case of stopping the timer, it is the exact same code we're going to copy paste. If you have current interval, then we're going to check if we're going to clear the interval and timer ref dot current equals null. So this is the start the timer and stop the timer. We already created 2 functions now. We're going to use these functions to when we start the timer, it just simply start the timer. And when we pause the timer, this is where the changes are going to be made. So when we pause the timer, this is going to be set is running false. We don't the timer is not running anymore. And is it paused? Yes, it is paused. So is it the set is paused as true? So this we want to add. And the next thing we might want to add is set the timer config. This is going to be okay. We also want to stop the timer at this point, right? Stop the time at this point. And for reset, we have to do running as false. Both these variables we have to make it false. And we also want to stop the timer. And before stopping the timer, we can set the timer config. We want to set it back to the initial state. So it's loaded config. So start the timer is done. Pause is done. Resume is only thing remaining. And resume seem like starting the timer. Okay, so here we are again starting the timer. So start, pause, resume, and reset. So let's start. So this is working down perfectly. Reset this back. Start, pause. Okay, start, pause. So we get 2 options. Now if we resume this up to start, then we can again pause this up. The timer is stopping and starting up. So this is working fine. We reset this back to 0. Just give it 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0, 0. And what we can add is when the timer reaches 0, we can create an alert as well. So let's just give an alert that the timer has reached down. Timer is completed. Alert, timer is completed. So there is no explicit thing that we have created. And this just give 3, start, 2, 1, 0. Yeah, the timer is completed, it's saying. So I think this is the code for the timer component. I think that is it for the video. The timer component is looking fine. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.